Good evening, and welcome back to the channel. Tonight, we'll journey through time to explore one of the most fascinating and enigmatic civilizations in history, the Maya. Let's begin. For centuries, the Maya civilization has stood at the crossroads of history and mystery. Their cities rise from the jungle like silent stone giants. Their calendars measure time with astonishing precision, and their knowledge of astronomy rivals that of much later cultures. Yet, the Maya remain one of the least understood civilizations on Earth. Who were they? How did they achieve such scientific mastery? And why did their great cities suddenly fall silent? In this story, we will explore the real history of the Maya, their rise, their achievements, their beliefs, and the dramatic events that shaped their world. But alongside the history, we will also look at the legends that captured the imagination of millions. The mysterious crystal skulls, tales of powerful artifacts said to predict the future, theories linking the Maya to the lost world of Atlantis, and modern attempts to understand the true reasons behind the disappearance of their civilization. Some of these stories are grounded in archaeology. Others exist only in myth. But together, they form a picture of a culture whose influence and mystery continues to grow with every new discovery.
When we speak about the Maya, we often imagine towering stone pyramids rising from the sea of emerald jungle, ancient gods carved in limestone, and the echo of distant drums somewhere deep in the rainforest. But before we dive into mysteries and legends, before we unravel calendars, rituals, and lost knowledge, we must begin with the land itself. The land that shaped the Maya, and the land the Maya shaped in return. The world of the Maya was not a single kingdom, not a unified empire with one ruler or one capital. It was a constellation of dozens of independent city-states spread across a landscape that was as beautiful as it was unforgiving. This land, stretching across today's southern Mexico, Guatemala, Belize, and parts of Honduras and El Salvador, was the cradle of their civilization. To understand the Maya, you must first imagine their world, a world of endless green. Thick, humid jungles of the Yucatan and Petén, where every step sinks into warm earth and every breath is heavy with the scent of leaves, rain, and distant flowers. A world where ancient trees rise like pillars of a forgotten cathedral, and beneath their canopy the light falls soft and green, as though filtered through jade. This land may look peaceful today, but for the Maya it was a constant challenge. There were no great rivers like the Nile or the Euphrates to feed their fields. Much of the soil was thin. Fresh water hid underground in natural wells, cenotes, rather than flowing openly across the land. The climate shifted between months of heavy rains and months of relentless drought, forcing the Maya to develop extraordinary methods of survival. Yet it was exactly this difficult land that nurtured one of the most remarkable civilizations of the ancient world. In the highlands of Chiapas and Guatemala, volcanic mountains towered above narrow, fertile valleys. In the lowlands, the jungle hid swamps, limestone plains, and secret caves that the Maya believed were entrances to the underworld. The coastline, stretching along the Caribbean, offered salt, fish, and routes for trade. This geography shaped everything,
from Maya agriculture to their religion, from the layout of their cities to their understanding of time and the heavens. Their gods lived in the mountains and in the caves. Their ancestors whispered from the cenotes. Their calendars followed the rhythm of rains and seasons. But perhaps the most remarkable thing is this. The Maya did not simply adapt to their land. They transformed it. They turned swamps into fertile fields. They carved cities out of the jungle. They built causeways, reservoirs, terraces, and pyramids that still stand after more than 1,000 years. And all of this began thousands of years before their civilization reached its peak. To understand the rise of the Maya, their brilliance, their power, and their eventual fall, we must start at the beginning, with this land, their home, and the earliest people who walked through these jungles long before the world learned their name. To truly understand the story of the Maya, we must first understand the rhythm of their history, the great arc of time over which their civilization grew, flourished, transformed, and eventually faded. The Maya did not rise suddenly, like an empire forged by conquest. Their world unfolded slowly, layer by layer, like the rings of an ancient tree. Historians today divide Maya history into three vast eras: the Preclassic, the Classic, and the Postclassic periods. This division is not just convenient, it reflects enormous changes in society, in architecture, in knowledge, and even in the worldview of the people themselves. But imagine these eras not as strict boundaries, not as cold timelines in a textbook. Think of them as the three acts of a long and complex play. The first act, the Preclassic, is the dawn. The second, the Classic, is the golden age, the moment when the Maya illuminated their world with monuments, science, and art. And the third, the Postclassic, is the age of transformation, conflict, and decline, when their old ways begin to fracture and the world prepares for the arrival of new forces. Let us briefly walk through these three great chapters of Maya history, because they will guide everything that follows in our story. The Preclassic period. This was the long foundation upon which everything else was built. Small farming villages emerged. Early cities appeared, like El Mirador and the first stages of Tikal. The people began shaping the jungle into fields. Pyramids rose for the first time. It was the age when the Maya learned how to live with their land, when they built the first sacred centers, and when the seeds of their future knowledge, writing, astronomy, mathematics, were planted deep in the soil of their culture. This era lasts almost 2,000 years. It is not an introduction, it is half the story. The Classic period, 250 to 900 CE. This is the Maya at their height, the age most people imagine when they hear the word Maya. Magnificent cities grew into powerful kingdoms: Palenque, Tikal, Calakmul, Kapan. Huge stone pyramids pierced the sky. The written language flourished, recording the lives of kings and the cycles of the heavens. Astronomy, math, and art reached their peak. This was a time of brilliance and also a time of rivalry. City fought city, Dynasty challenged dynasty. The classic period shines brightly, but beneath its splendor, the shadows of conflict were growing. The Postclassic period, 900 to 1500 CE. The final era is a story of change. Great cities of the Classic Age were abandoned, swallowed again by the jungle. New powers rose, most famously Chichen Itza, and new influences arrived from the north, including the mysterious Toltecs. Trade routes shifted, wars intensified, and step by step, the world of the Maya transformed into something different from what it had been before. By the end of this period, just as the Maya were beginning to reshape themselves once more, an unexpected force appeared on the horizon: the Spanish conquistadors. These three eras are the skeleton of Maya history. But soon we will fill this skeleton with flesh, with stories, with discoveries, with legends and mysteries. And to do that, we must begin at the beginning, at the dawn, the Preclassic Age. If the story of the Maya is a vast book, then the Preclassic era is its first and longest chapter. The pages where the roots of everything we know about this civilization were quietly planted. It is a chapter often overshadowed by the splendor of later times. Yet without it, the great cities of the Classic period would never have risen, and the world of the Maya would have remained only a whisper in the jungle. To understand the Preclassic Age, imagine the Maya world not as a land of towering pyramids, but as a landscape just beginning to awaken. Around 2000 BCE, long before the pyramids of Tikal or Palenque touched the sky, small communities began to take shape across the Maya lowlands. These early people were farmers, quietly revolutionary farmers. They cultivated maize, squash, beans, chili peppers, avocado, and cacao. In this moment, agriculture became the engine of Maya society. The jungle was thick, the soil uneven, the climate unpredictable, but the Maya adapted with remarkable ingenuity. They created the first raised fields, dug the first irrigation canals, and shaped the forest without destroying it. Their homes were simple structures of wood and thatch. Their tools were made of stone, bone, and obsidian. And yet, from these modest beginnings, something extraordinary was beginning to form. By 1200–1000 BCE, the first ceremonial centers emerged. They were not yet cities as we imagine them, but the seeds of cities, places marked by plazas, platforms, and the earliest pyramids. And among these, one place would rise above all others: El Mirador. Hidden deep within the Petén jungle, El Mirador became one of the largest and most impressive cities of the ancient world, long before Rome or Athens reached their glory. Its principal pyramid, La Danta, towers over the canopy even today. It is one of the largest pyramids on Earth by volume, built at a time when the rest of the world still lived in scattered tribes. The existence of El Mirador in the Preclassic era is one of the greatest surprises in Mesoamerican archaeology.
It proves that the Maya genius did not emerge suddenly. It was already present centuries before the Classic Age. During this time, another civilization thrived along the Gulf Coast, the Olmecs, often called the mother culture of Mesoamerica. Their colossal stone heads, their early writing, their trade networks, and their rituals deeply influenced the young Maya world. The Maya adopted some Olmec ideas, transformed others, and then created something entirely their own. From this mixture came the beginnings of Maya writing and the first elements of their complex calendar. In the pre-classic era, the Maya began shaping the worldview that would guide them for millennia. They believed the world was divided into three realms: the heavens above, the earthly plane, and the watery underworld below. Caves and cenotes became sacred portals. Mountains, real or artificial, became the homes of gods. Rulers of the early cities emerged not merely as political leaders, but as intermediaries between the mortal world and the divine. This union of religion and power would define Maya society forever. It is in this era that the Maya built their earliest pyramids. They were not yet as refined as the later masterpieces, but they were monumental expressions of ambition. Each pyramid was a mountain, a sacred axis connecting the world below, the world of humans, and the sky above. Each one was a declaration. We are here, we build, we rise. By the time the pre-classic era drew to a close, around 250 CE, the Maya world had already achieved remarkable heights. Large ceremonial cities, sophisticated agriculture, long-distance trade networks, complex religious beliefs, the first steps towards writing and mathematics, monumental architecture that defied the jungle itself. Everything that would later amaze historians, the star observatories, the vast cities, the precise calendars, began here, in this long and often overlooked age. The pre-classic era is the foundation, the dawn, the moment when a scattered people became a civilization. And now, with the stage set and the first stones laid, the story of the Maya rises towards its brightest chapter, the Classic period, the Golden Age.
For many people around the world, the first time they heard the word Maya was in connection with a single date, December 21, 2012, the supposed end of the world. Movies were made about it. Books were written. Prophets declared that a cosmic reset was coming. But the truth, as always, is far more interesting and far more ancient. To understand what 2012 really meant for the Maya, we must first understand how they measured time. And for the Maya, time was not simply numbers on a calendar. Time was sacred. Time was alive. The Maya believed that everything in the universe moved in cycles. The stars, the rains, the growth of maize, the rise and fall of cities, even the lives of gods themselves. Their calendars were not tools for marking appointments. They were windows into the structure of the cosmos. They used several interlocking calendars, each marking a different dimension of time: the 260-day sacred calendar, the 365-day solar calendar, and the 52-year calendar round. The most mysterious, however, was the long count, the great timeline of world ages. It was this long count that brought so much fear and fascination in modern times. While most civilizations measured time in years or generations, the Maya measured it in world eras. The long count begins on a date equivalent to August 11, 3114 BCE, which the Maya considered the start of the current world. From that point, time moved through enormous cycles called baktuns, each lasting 394 years. 13 baktuns formed a complete grand cycle, a world age. And on December 21, 2012, the 13th baktun ended. For the Maya, this did not mean destruction. It meant renewal. Just as one day ends and another begins, one world age ends and another opens. For them, 2012 was a symbolic turning of a cosmic page. Not fire, not catastrophe, but transformation. When European explorers first saw Maya inscriptions, they misunderstood them. Later, in the 20th century, the long count was misinterpreted by pseudo-scholars and eventually by Hollywood. The idea of a sudden apocalypse was dramatic, exciting, and completely wrong. The Maya never predicted the end of the physical world. They spoke about the end of a cycle, a great cosmic reset, but not the annihilation of humanity. What they feared wasn't destruction. They feared imbalance, a world where humans forget their place in the cosmic order, where nature and time fall out of harmony. In that sense, perhaps the Maya were speaking to us more than we realize. The real genius of the Maya calendar wasn't prophecy. It was mathematics, astronomy, the understanding that time moves in patterns, and that humanity is just one part of a larger cosmic rhythm. Their calendar is a reminder that civilizations rise and fall, the seasons turn, and the universe continues its eternal dance. And it is this understanding of time, precise, mystical, mathematical, that carried the Maya into their greatest age, the Classic era, when their knowledge blossomed like never before. If there is one achievement that truly reveals the soul of the Maya civilization, it is their writing, a system carved into stone and painted onto the surfaces of sacred trees, one that survived centuries of rain, warfare, and the deliberate destruction of their books. This writing, once lost to time, has been rediscovered, allowing the voices of the ancient Maya to speak once more. The Maya had one of the most sophisticated and fully developed writing system in the pre-Columbian Americas. It wasn't simply an alphabet or set of symbols. It was a combination of logograms and syllabic signs, capable of expressing complex ideas. Each glyph was not just a representation of a word, but often an entire concept or sound, intricately woven together to form stories, history, and celestial movements. In its earliest forms, Maya writing could be found carved into stone monuments, tall stelae standing as silent witnesses to the lives and deeds of kings and priests. It was also painted on the inner bark of trees, creating codices that contained the sacred knowledge of the people. These books, made from the bark of fig trees, were coated in plaster to create a smooth surface for vibrant glyphs to be painted on. Yet despite the fragility of these materials, the Maya knew their writing held immense power. It was more than just ink or stone. It was a way to immortalize memory. The surviving codices give us glimpses into a world rich with knowledge. Some were filled with astronomical calculations, detailing the movements of planets and stars, while others contained the chronicles of kings and their dynasties. There were codices that recorded sacred rituals to honor the gods, while others tracked the most important dates in their ceremonial calendars. These were not just books, they were keys to understanding the universe itself. However, the true depth of Maya writing was revealed only in the 20th century, when the language was finally cracked by the brilliant linguist Yuri Knorozov. Before that, explorers and scholars had stared at the glyphs, unable to decipher them. Early scholars, thinking they were purely decorative or religious, dismissed their potential to represent actual language. But Knorozov, through his persistence and insight, recognized the true nature of the script and helped unlock the intricacies of the Maya language. Maya writing was a marvel not only because of its complexity, but because it recorded so much of what was essential to their culture. From the names of rulers and the dates of their reigns, to the myths and stories that shaped their beliefs. The glyphs were not simply tools to mark time, they were a way to capture the essence of the cosmos itself. Every king who stood before a monument inscribed with these glyphs was standing before the very foundation of his people's history. For the Maya, writing was not just a form of communication. It was a sacred act, linking the earthly realm with the divine. The inscriptions on their monuments were meant to honor the gods and confirm the king's divine right to rule. The very act of carving these glyphs into stone was seen as a way of bringing divine order into the human world. Every strike of the chisel made the moment eternal, allowing the words to transcend time and decay. Despite their advanced knowledge and their ability to document life, the Maya were not immune to the forces of time and destruction. With the arrival of the Spanish conquistadors in the 16th century, a significant shift occurred in their written culture. Bishop Diego de Landa, in his attempt to eradicate indigenous beliefs, burned thousands of Maya codices. It is said that he believed these sacred texts were works of the devil, and by doing so, he destroyed much of the written history of the Maya. But even though their books were burned, the writing itself did not disappear. The glyphs remained etched in stone, hidden for centuries. And as the years passed, their meaning remained a mystery. Scholars and adventurers wandered through the jungles, trying to decipher these mysterious symbols. It wasn't until the 20th century that the puzzle began to be solved. Archaeologists, linguists, and historians worked tirelessly to decode the glyphs. Slowly, they uncovered the names of kings, the dates of significant events, and the movements of the stars. Maya writing became the key to understanding not just their civilization, but their worldview. It revealed their deep connection to the cosmos, their advanced understanding of time, and their belief in the cyclical nature of existence. Today, thanks to scholars like Knorozov, Maya writing is no longer a mystery. We can read the words carved into stone and painted onto bark. The voices of the ancient Maya, once silenced, now echo across the centuries, telling us of their kings, their gods, and their understanding of the universe. In their writing, we can hear the heartbeat of a civilization that viewed itself as intertwined with the very fabric of nature,
a civilization that used writing not just to record history, but to track the passage of time itself. As we move into the classic period of Maya civilization, these written records will take on even greater significance. The monuments will multiply, the glyphs will spread across the land, and the power of the written word will help shape the future of the Maya people. But before we continue, let us take a moment to reflect on the remarkable achievement of the Maya writing system, and how it has survived the ravages of time to speak to us today.
The Maya civilization, one of the most extraordinary in human history, reached its zenith during the Classic period. A world of towering stone temples, bustling marketplaces, and profound intellectual achievements, this era marked the peak of Maya culture, lasting from approximately 250 to 900 CE. During this time, the Maya built some of the most impressive cities in the ancient world, cities that seemed to rise effortlessly from the dense jungles of Central America. At the heart of these cities were monumental pyramids, sprawling palaces, and temples dedicated to gods who controlled the forces of nature. These cities, like Tikal, Palenque, and Copan, were not just political centers. They were living embodiments of the Maya worldview, designed to honor the divine and to align the city's purpose with the movements of the heavens. At the height of Maya civilization, Tikal stood as the largest and most influential city-state, a symbol of the grandeur of the Classic period. Its towering pyramids, such as Temple 1, with its intricately carved stelae, celebrated the reign of its divine kings. These rulers were not just secular leaders. They were seen as intermediaries between the gods and the people, their divine right to rule reinforced through ritual and blood sacrifice. Every victory, every new alliance was a manifestation of the god's will. The rulers of Tikal and other cities like Palenque and Copan were deeply involved in the religious life of their people, their power rooted in their ability to maintain cosmic balance. However, it wasn't just religion that flourished. The Maya reached remarkable achievements in science, particularly in the fields of mathematics and astronomy. Their understanding of the cosmos was unparalleled in the ancient world. With their precise calendars, they tracked the movements of the stars, the phases of the moon, and the path of Venus across the sky. These observations were not mere curiosity, but were integral to their agricultural cycles and religious ceremonies. Maya mathematicians were the first in the ancient Americas to use the concept of zero, a revolutionary mathematical idea that allowed them to make astronomical predictions with incredible accuracy. The Maya calendar, particularly the long count, was not just a tool to track time, but a way to understand the cycles of the universe, to track the passage of divine eras, and to foresee the future. This deep connection between time and the divine defined all aspects of Maya society. Yet, as the Classic period reached its peak, something began to change. Many of the great cities, such as Tikal, Palenque, and Copan, began to show signs of decline by the end of the 9th century. Some of these cities were abandoned, their once bustling streets now silent, their monuments consumed by the jungle. The reasons for this collapse remain a subject of intense debate. Some scholars argue that climate change, specifically prolonged droughts,
may have caused a breakdown in the agricultural system that supported these cities. Others suggest that internal strife, overpopulation, and warfare played a role in the decline. Despite the fall of the city-states, the Maya civilization did not vanish entirely. New cities emerged in the north, with Chichen Itza rising as the most powerful and influential center during the Postclassic period. It was here that the Maya continued to build on the achievements of the Classic period, albeit with new influences, particularly from the Toltecs. The collapse of the classic cities and the transformation of Maya society mark a pivotal moment in their history. The reasons for the decline are complex, involving a combination of environmental, social, and political factors. Yet even in their decline, the Maya's legacy endured, and the mysteries of their civilization continue to captivate us.
As the classic period of the Maya civilization came to a close, a new chapter began, one of transformation, conflict, and survival. The cities of the great Maya kingdoms, such as Tikal and Palenque, faded into obscurity, their once imposing pyramids now overgrown with jungle vines. The Maya civilization did not vanish with the fall of these cities, but it entered a new, more fragmented era, known as the Postclassic period. This era, spanning from around 900 to 1500 CE, marked a time of profound change for the Maya. While the classic cities declined, new centers of power rose in the north and west, most notably Chichen Itza, Uxmal, and Mayapan. These cities represented a shift in Maya culture and politics. Unlike the large, powerful city-states of the Classic period, these new centers were more decentralized, with a greater emphasis on trade, warfare, and interaction with other Mesoamerican cultures. The rise of Chichen Itza, in particular, signaled the beginning of a new power dynamic. Chichen Itza became the dominant force in the Maya world during the post-classic period. Located in the northern Yucatan, it was an impressive city with grandiose architecture, including the Pyramid of Kukulkan, also known as El Castillo. The pyramid's design, with its precise astronomical alignment, reflects the continued importance of astronomy in Maya culture, even as their political structure shifted. The famous serpent descent during the equinoxes, when the shadow of the pyramid creates the illusion of a serpent slithering down its steps, is one of the many examples of Maya ingenuity that persisted throughout the post-classic period. But it wasn't just the rise of new cities that defined this era. The post-classic period was also characterized by internal struggles and external pressures. The Maya engaged in constant warfare, both among themselves and with outside forces, such as the Toltecs. The Toltecs, a civilization from central Mexico, exerted significant influence on the northern Maya cities, particularly Chichen Itza. The Toltec presence is evident in the art and architecture of the region, and some scholars even suggest that the Toltecs may have contributed to the decline of the southern cities, although this remains a matter of debate. In addition to warfare, the Maya faced challenges from their environment. The climate of the Yucatan and other regions was volatile, with periods of intense droughts, which may have contributed to the stresses that led to the decline of many of the great southern cities. Despite these challenges, the Maya adapted by strengthening their trade networks, both within Mesoamerica and beyond.
They traded in valuable goods like jade, cacao, and feathers, and their cities became major hubs of commerce. The rise of new powers in the post-classic period also saw the Maya increasingly interact with the Spanish, who were beginning to explore and conquer the Americas. By the time the Spanish arrived in the early 16th century, the Maya had already experienced centuries of change, but their ancient traditions and knowledge remained embedded in their culture. However, the arrival of the Spanish, with their superior weapons and the devastating impact of diseases like smallpox, would lead to the eventual collapse of Maya society. The post-classic period is often seen as a time of struggle and adaptation, but it is also a period of resilience. The Maya did not simply fade into history, they transformed and adapted to the changing world around them. As the Spanish encroached on their land, the Maya would fight to preserve their culture, their cities, and their way of life.
The arrival of the Spanish in the early 16th century marked the beginning of the end for the Maya civilization. Though the great cities of the south had already begun to decline by the time the Spanish reached the Yucatan Peninsula, the Maya were far from defeated. They still retained powerful city-states, sophisticated cultures, and vast knowledge of the world. Yet, the forces unleashed by the Spanish would forever change the course of their history. In 1519, the Spanish conquistador Hernán Cortés landed on the coast of what is now Mexico, marking the beginning of a new and tumultuous chapter for the Americas. Although Cortés and his men focused primarily on the Aztec Empire, their actions set the stage for further exploration and conquest of Mesoamerica. The Maya, still a formidable force in the region, were not left untouched by this wave of European expansion. Unlike the Aztecs, the Maya were not unified under a single ruler or empire. Instead, they remained divided into numerous city-states, each with its own ruler and politics. This fragmentation, while it allowed for a degree of cultural preservation, also made the Maya more vulnerable to Spanish conquest. The Spanish, using their superior weaponry, horses, and military tactics, quickly began to conquer the Maya one city-state at a time. One of the first major encounters between the Maya and the Spanish took place in 1519, when the Spanish explorer Francisco Hernández de Córdoba arrived in the Yucatan Peninsula. He and his crew encountered the Maya, but, as with the Aztecs, they were initially met with curiosity and wonder. The Maya were intrigued by the newcomers' horses, their weapons, and their strange appearance. However, tensions soon escalated, and the Spanish began to see the Maya not as allies, but as obstacles to their goal of conquering the Americas. The first major battle between the Spanish and the Maya occurred in 1521, when the Spanish, led by Francisco de Montejo, began their campaign to conquer the Yucatan. This campaign would be long and brutal. The Spanish fought their way through Maya city-states, encountering fierce resistance and sporadic alliances with rival groups. The Maya, despite being outnumbered and outgunned, fought fiercely to defend their cities. Their knowledge of the terrain and their ability to rally warriors were formidable weapons against the Spanish forces. But the Spanish were not alone in their conquest. Alongside the conquistadors came missionaries, Catholic priests intent on converting the native populations to Christianity.
The Maya, whose religion was deeply rooted in their cosmology, gods, and rituals, were not easily swayed. The clash between the Maya religion and Christianity was violent and often led to the destruction of sacred temples and the forced conversion of the Maya to Catholicism. As the Spanish spread throughout the Yucatan Peninsula, the Maya were forced into submission. Many of their cities were razed, their temples destroyed, and their leaders captured or killed. The once great civilization of the Maya was gradually reduced to a shadow of its former self. Yet, despite the overwhelming odds, the Maya did not disappear. Resistance continued for years after the initial conquest. The last Maya city to fall to the Spanish was Neuquén, the capital of the Itza Maya, which finally surrendered in 1697, almost 200 years after the initial arrival of the Spanish. The conquest of the Maya by the Spanish was not merely a military victory. It was the culmination of centuries of cultural exchange, conflict, and transformation. The Maya were not simply defeated by Spanish swords. Their society, their way of life, and their worldview were systematically dismantled by foreign forces. Yet, in many ways, the Maya refused to die. Although their great cities fell and their kingdoms were broken, the Maya civilization endured. Many of their descendants continue to live in the Yucatan Peninsula and throughout Central America. They retain much of their ancient culture, including language, customs, and traditions. The legacy of the Maya is not just a story of a lost civilization, but a testament to the resilience and perseverance of a people who have endured for millennia.
In 1519, as the Spanish forces, led by Hernán Cortés, began their conquest of the Aztec Empire, a single moment would change the course of history forever. This was the moment when the Spanish introduced something unknown to the indigenous peoples of the Americas, the horse. When Cortés and his men arrived at Tenochtitlan, the Aztec capital, they were met with awe and fear. The Aztecs, having never seen horses before, interpreted the arrival of these powerful animals as a sign from the gods. Cortés, riding his horse, appeared as a divine figure, and many believed he was the god Quetzalcoatl, prophesied to return from the east. The sight of the horse, an animal unknown to the indigenous peoples, struck them with awe. Some even believed that the horse itself was an extension of the god's power. The horse became an emblem of Spanish power, striking fear into the hearts of the native peoples and serving as a symbol of their technological and military superiority. The legend of the horse grew, becoming a central aspect of the Spanish narrative in the New World. As the Spanish conquistadors rode into battle, the mere presence of the horse on the battlefield caused confusion and terror among the native forces. The power of the horse, combined with steel, gunpowder, and horses, allowed the Spanish to achieve victories despite their small numbers. But the real strength lay not only in the horse, but also in the psychological impact it had on the indigenous peoples. They saw the horse as a mystical and divine creature. In the years that followed, the legend of the horse spread, becoming a symbol of the destructive power of the Spanish invasion. The Spanish would go on to conquer vast territories, and the horse would be at the heart of their dominance over the New World. The fall of the great Maya cities in the Postclassic period and their eventual conquest by the Spanish did not mean the end of Maya culture. On the contrary, the legacy of the Maya civilization continues to endure, deeply woven into the fabric of modern Central America. Though the political and religious structures of the ancient Maya were dismantled by foreign invaders, the essence of their civilization lived on through their descendants, and their cultural influence is still felt today. One of the most remarkable aspects of the Maya legacy is their continued survival in the face of immense adversity. While many Maya cities were abandoned or destroyed during the Spanish conquest, the Maya people persisted, adapting to new realities while preserving their identity. Many Maya communities in the Yucatan Peninsula, Guatemala, and beyond still practice ancient customs, speak their languages, and honor traditions that date back thousands of years. Today, the Maya continue to maintain their cultural identity, even as they navigate the challenges of modernization and globalization. For example, many Maya groups have preserved their distinct languages, including Yucatec Maya, Quiche, Quechua, and others. These languages are not just tools of communication, they are carriers of knowledge, history, and traditions that reflect the worldview of their ancestors. The Maya worldview, centered on a deep connection to nature and the cosmos, remains integral to their cultural practices. The ancient belief in the cyclical nature of time, with creation, destruction, and rebirth, continues to shape how the Maya interact with the world around them. This worldview is reflected in their agricultural practices, where the Maya continue to cultivate traditional crops such as maize, beans, and squash, and maintain a spiritual relationship with the land that sustains them. Maya art, both ancient and modern, is another crucial component of their enduring legacy. The vibrant colors and intricate patterns found in Maya textiles, ceramics, and murals continue to inspire artists today. These artworks are more than just visual expressions. They are deeply symbolic representations of the Maya worldview, connecting the mundane with the divine. The use of jade, turquoise, and other precious materials in ancient Maya jewelry and art demonstrates their sophisticated craftsmanship and reverence for beauty. Moreover, the Maya's architectural legacy has withstood the test of time. Although many of the grand cities were abandoned or destroyed, the monumental ruins of places like Tikal, Palenque, Chichen Itza, and Copan still stand as testaments to the Maya's advanced engineering and architectural skills. These sites are not only important for their historical and cultural significance, but they also serve as symbols of Maya resilience. Even though these cities were ravaged by time and conquest, they continue to inspire awe and fascination in visitors from around the world. The survival of Maya religion is also a key aspect of their legacy. Despite the efforts of Spanish missionaries to eradicate indigenous beliefs, many Maya continue to practice a form of syncretic religion, blending ancient Maya traditions with Catholicism. Ceremonies, dances, and rituals that have been passed down through generations are still performed, especially during religious festivals and agricultural cycles. Maya spiritual beliefs, rooted in the idea of balance between the earthly and spiritual realms, still guide the actions of contemporary Maya communities. Pilgrimages to sacred sites, the offering of incense and food to the gods, and the honoring of ancestors are practices that continue to play an important role in the lives of many Maya people today. Furthermore, the Maya continue to assert their cultural and political rights. In recent decades, there has been a resurgence of Maya activism as communities push for recognition of their rights to land, language, and cultural preservation. The rise of indigenous rights movements in Latin America has allowed Maya communities to reclaim their cultural heritage and demand greater autonomy and respect.
Today, the Maya legacy is not just a story of a past civilization, but a living, breathing culture that continues to shape the present. From the language spoken in rural villages to the vibrant art displayed in urban galleries, the Maya influence remains strong. Their resilience in the face of adversity and their ability to adapt to changing times without losing their cultural identity serve as a powerful reminder of the endurance of human spirit.
In the heart of Central America, there exists a mysterious legend, one that speaks of 13 crystal skulls, believed by some to hold immense ancient power. These skulls, thought to be from the Maya civilization, continue to captivate the imagination of many. Their precise crafting and the mystery surrounding their origin make them objects of fascination. The first of these crystal skulls was discovered in 1927 by Albert Mitchell Hedges, an English explorer. He found it in a Maya temple in the jungle of Belize. The skull, made of clear rock crystal, was carved with such precision that experts were stunned. The artifact showed no signs of modern tools, and no markings were left by any known crafting techniques of the time. How could the Maya, without the advanced tools of today, have crafted such an intricate piece? The skull's origins remain a subject of heated debate. Some believe the skull was made by the Maya, while others suggest that it is a much later creation, possibly even forged in the 19th century. Regardless of its origins, the skull became a symbol of mystery. But the mystery of the crystal skulls doesn't end with their creation. Many believe that these skulls possess mystical powers. Some legends claim that if all 13 skulls were ever united, they would grant the power to control time, space, and even life itself. Others believe the skulls can predict the future, heal the sick, and even control the forces of nature. These claims have only added to the allure and fascination surrounding these artifacts. In 1943, an astonishing event took place. A group of men were arrested in Brazil for attempting to rob a museum. Upon searching them, a crystal skull was found among their belongings. These men, it was later discovered, were Nazis. But not just any Nazis. They were members of a secret group known as Ahnenerbe, a branch of the SS created by Heinrich Himmler. This mysterious order was tasked with finding magical artifacts around the world, linking Nazi ideology with ancient mystical practices. The agents were specifically sent to Brazil to recover the 13 crystal skulls of the Maya. According to legend, those who collected all 13 skulls would gain the power to control time, space, and even life itself. It is said that this quest was a part of a larger Nazi effort to connect their ideology with mystical and ancient powers that could give them dominion over the earth. The agents, under the cover of the Ahnenerbe, traveled the world seeking the skulls, believing that they held the key to ultimate power. The idea that such objects could grant control over time, space, and even the future made the skulls highly sought after, not only by those who believed in the ancient mystical knowledge of the Maya, but also by forces with much darker goals. The discovery of these skulls is shrouded in mystery. Even after World War II, some believe that these skulls were lost, hidden, or still being sought by secret organizations. Whether they were simply ancient ceremonial objects or something far more powerful,
The crystal skulls remain symbols of the incredible knowledge possessed by the Maya. They reflect the Maya's belief in the sacred and their understanding of the cosmos, where knowledge and spirituality were intertwined, and where objects like the crystal skulls were believed to hold divine power.
The mystery of the 13 crystal skulls continues to be one of the most perplexing stories from the Maya civilization. While much has been said about the skulls discovered in the early 20th century, a far more enigmatic discovery occurred in 1992, when an entirely unique crystal skull was found. This particular skull defied all expectations, as it was not just a typical crystal skull, but one that was twisted, a feature unlike any other found before. What makes this skull even more extraordinary is that it wasn't twisted as a result of external pressure or damage. Scientists determined that it was created in this twisted form from the very beginning. The cause of the twisting remains an unsolved mystery. What force could have manipulated the crystal during its creation to produce such an unnatural shape? Some theorists speculate that the Maya possessed ancient unknown techniques that allowed them to craft such an artifact, though there are still no clear explanations. In addition to the twisted skull, another fascinating discovery occurred when one of the other skulls, which had long been thought to be made of pure rock crystal, was examined in greater detail. Upon further analysis, it was revealed that it was not made of crystal at all, but of quartz, a material that, as many experts noted, is nowhere to be found naturally in Mexico. This raised new questions about the origins of the skull, and whether it could truly have been created by the Maya. The fact that it was made of quartz, and not the material usually associated with the Maya, added to the skepticism. Regarding their true origins, to make the situation even more intriguing, tool marks were found on the skull, and these marks were dated back to the 19th century. This discovery led many to believe that the skull, which had been previously thought to be an ancient Maya artifact, might actually be a 19th century forgery. Some believe that it was produced by Eugène Bobin, a French antiques dealer who had connections to the European fascination with mystical objects in the 1800s. Bobin is known to have sold various so-called ancient artifacts, and it is now widely believed that the famous skull stored in the British Museum is one of his creations, rather than an authentic Maya relic. Despite these revelations, the mystery of the crystal skulls remains far from resolved. Even with the discovery of tool marks dating back to the 19th century, many still hold on to the belief that the skulls are connected to ancient Maya knowledge, possibly remnants of lost rituals or sacred objects used by Maya shamans. Could these skulls really have been used to predict the future or harness otherworldly power, as some legends suggest? While some argue that they are nothing more than modern forgeries, others continue to believe that they hold the key to understanding the true nature of the Maya and their lost knowledge. Another particularly striking feature of the skulls is their ability to refract light in unique ways. It is said that, when placed under light, the skulls cast strange luminous patterns, and some claim that by observing these patterns, one can gain insight into future events. While this phenomenon remains unexplained, the very nature of the crystal skulls, their beauty,
Their eerie glow and their mysterious origins continue to captivate both researchers and the public. The discovery of these skulls, particularly the twisted skull and the quartz skull, has led many to wonder: were the Maya more advanced than we think? Did they possess knowledge or techniques that have been lost to history? Some theorists suggest that the Maya might have been in contact with ancient civilizations far older than their own, possibly exchanging knowledge of crystal crafting and mysticism that could explain the creation of the skulls. The Onenarbe, a secret Nazi group, believed that collecting the 13 crystal skulls would give them control over the world. In their quest to find the skulls, they linked them to ideas of ancient power and mystical forces, believing that they could unlock the key to ultimate control. The idea of 13 skulls held a special significance for them, as it was believed that they could harness supernatural forces when combined. The idea that these skulls held ancient powers, whether real or imagined, contributed to their lasting mystique. Ultimately, despite the skepticism surrounding their authenticity, the 13 crystal skulls continue to captivate the world. Whether they are divine artifacts of the Maya or later forgeries, they represent a mystical connection to a lost civilization, a civilization that is still shrouded in mystery. The question of who made them and how they were crafted remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries of the ancient world.
The Maya civilization presents us with a fascinating paradox. On the one hand, the Maya demonstrated extraordinary mathematical, astronomical, and medical knowledge that was far ahead of its time. They were able to build colossal pyramids with mathematical precision and develop complex calendars that tracked not just the solar cycle, but the movements of the stars and planets. They understood the length of the solar year to be 365 days, and even had knowledge of seismology and meteorology, which allowed them to predict earthquakes and floods with incredible accuracy. Yet, despite these advancements, the Maya lacked fundamental technological inventions that we would consider essential for any advanced civilization. For example, they never developed the wheel. Despite having the resources to harness animals like buffalo and deer, the Maya did not use the wheel, which was a basic tool in many other ancient civilizations. Even more perplexing is the fact that, despite their advanced understanding of the cosmos, their societal structure and way of life were quite primitive. They lived in city-states, each ruled by a high priest and a supreme ruler, and engaged in brutal wars for resources and slaves. Their society was highly hierarchical, with the common people having very little access to the wealth or knowledge of the elites. They were governed by a strict religious code, where human sacrifices were common and considered essential for maintaining harmony with the gods. This disparity between their extraordinary intellectual achievements and their relatively primitive lifestyle remains one of the greatest enigmas surrounding the Maya civilization. How could a society that understood the movements of the stars and planets and knew how to treat diseases and perform cranial trepanation not have developed more basic technologies such as the wheel or weapons for self-defense? The Maya were certainly capable of constructing amazing structures like the pyramids, but their inability to defend themselves against invaders like the Spanish, despite their advanced knowledge, is a mystery that continues to perplex historians. The construction of the Maya pyramids remains one of the most awe-inspiring feats of ancient architecture. These structures were not just monumental buildings, they were deeply symbolic representations of the Mayas' understanding of the cosmos, their gods, and the cycle of life and death. Each pyramid served as a sacred axis, a connection between the heavens, the earth, and the underworld. The sheer scale and precision of their construction have led to many theories, but their true purpose and the methods by which they were built remain a mystery. One of the most remarkable features of Maya pyramids is their alignment with celestial events. The Temple of the Grand Jaguar at Tikal, for example, was designed to align perfectly with the rising sun during certain times of the year. These alignments were not just for ceremonial purposes. They had practical significance, allowing the Maya to track the movements of the stars and planets. The pyramids themselves became instruments of timekeeping, marking the passage of seasons, equinoxes, and solstices. Yet, despite the obvious precision and purpose behind the construction of these pyramids, many questions remain. How did the Maya, without the wheel or advanced machinery, manage to construct such towering structures? The sheer weight of the stones used in the pyramids would have been beyond what could be moved by manual labor alone. Some experts have suggested that they may have used intricate systems of ramps, pulleys, and levers, but the exact methods remain speculative. The Pyramid of La Danta, located in the city of El Mirador in Guatemala, stands at a towering 72 meters and is one of the largest pyramids in the Maya world. It is a testament to the ambition and engineering prowess of the Maya civilization. But even more astonishing is the Great Pyramid of Cholula, located in central Mexico. Once thought to be merely a natural hill, it was later discovered to be a massive pyramid, the largest in the world by volume, though it remains largely hidden beneath a church constructed atop it. In addition to these grand structures, the Maya also built smaller pyramids across the region, each serving a unique purpose. For example, the Pyramid of the Sun near Teotihuacan was believed to have been dedicated to the sun god, and its alignment with the stars and planets symbolized the Maya's deep connection with the cosmos. The El Tigre Pyramid in Guatemala, rising to 55 meters, remains a mystery in terms of its specific purpose, as no clear records exist to explain its function. These pyramids were more than just places of worship. They were physical representations of the divine. The pyramid shape itself was symbolic of the sacred mountain, the axis mundi that connected the heavens, the earth, and the underworld. The Temple of Kukulkan at Chichen Itza is perhaps the most famous example of this, with its staircase featuring the play of light and shadow that created the illusion of a serpent descending and ascending during the equinoxes. This visual effect, combined with human sacrifice rituals, made the pyramid a stage for powerful cosmic ceremonies that linked the king's divine authority to the movements of the stars and the forces of nature. The idea that the Maya civilization could be connected to Atlantis is one of the most intriguing and mysterious theories surrounding these ancient people. For centuries, the legend of Atlantis has been told in various forms, from the writings of Plato to modern-day books and films, all suggesting that an advanced civilization capable of extraordinary technological and spiritual feats once existed and mysteriously disappeared. Some believe that the Maya, with their seemingly inexplicable knowledge of astronomy, architecture, and agriculture, could have inherited or even been influenced by the lost civilization of Atlantis. In the Mayan texts and artifacts, there are numerous references to gods who descended from the heavens, often depicted as feathered serpents or beings with advanced knowledge. The most famous of these gods is Kukulkan, also known as Quetzalcoatl in the Aztec tradition, who is associated with the winds, rain, and the cosmos. These gods are often depicted as superior beings, far beyond the capabilities of ordinary humans. This could be a reflection of a greater, ancient civilization that once shared this knowledge, perhaps Atlantis, which was said to be a place of unparalleled wisdom and technology. Additionally, the mysterious construction techniques of the Maya, particularly in their grand pyramids, have led some to speculate about alien influence or the passing down of knowledge from an ancient, advanced civilization. The pyramids, which align perfectly with celestial events, and the intricate calendars that the Maya used to track time, are just a few of the technological achievements that seem to have come from an outside source. Perhaps the Atlanteans, if one subscribes to the theory that they were responsible for passing on such knowledge to the Maya. Another fascinating connection is the sudden disappearance of the Maya from their greatest cities around the end of the 9th century AD. Theories suggest that cataclysmic events such as earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, or floods may have been responsible for the collapse of their civilization, events that could have been related to the catastrophic end of Atlantis. In many versions of the Atlantean myth, the civilization disappears due to a sudden, devastating natural disaster, leaving behind only ruins and mysterious symbols. The most compelling evidence for a connection between Atlantis and the Maya is the symbolism found in their art and architecture. For instance, the Mayan pyramids often feature complex geometrical patterns that are reminiscent of Atlantean symbols, and many scholars have pointed out striking similarities between the Mayan ball game and the rituals of Atlantis, as described by Plato. These symbols, some believe, could be remnants of a forgotten civilization, passed down through time by survivors of the fall of Atlantis. The decline and eventual disappearance of the Maya civilization remains one of the greatest enigmas in history. The Maya, known for their advanced knowledge of astronomy, mathematics, and architecture, constructed some of the most awe-inspiring pyramids and temples in the ancient world. Yet, by the 9th century AD, many of their great cities were abandoned. The reasons for this sudden collapse are still a matter of debate among historians, but several theories stand out as plausible explanations. One popular theory suggests that the Maya cities suffered from a combination of environmental degradation and resource depletion. The Maya civilization relied heavily on agriculture, particularly maize, which required vast amounts of land to cultivate. As their populations grew, the land became overworked, and the soil gradually lost its fertility. Deforestation, caused by the clearing of land for farming and construction, led to erosion and a further decline in agricultural productivity. This environmental strain, combined with possible droughts, could have precipitated food shortages and economic instability, weakening the once thriving Maya states. Another factor that contributed to the fall of the Maya was political fragmentation. Unlike empires like the Aztecs or the Incas, the Maya were divided into numerous city-states, each with its own ruler. These city-states often engaged in conflicts with one another over resources and territory. This internal strife made the Maya civilization vulnerable to external threats, including invasions by other Mesoamerican groups, such as the Toltecs. The political disunity and constant warfare made it difficult for the Maya to mount a coordinated defense against external pressures. The arrival of the Spanish conquistadors in the early 16th century marked the final blow to the Maya civilization. Although the Maya had already begun to decline by this time, the Spanish brought with them advanced weaponry, horses, and diseases such as smallpox, which decimated the remaining Maya population. The Spanish conquest of the Yucatan Peninsula further contributed to the collapse of the Maya, as they destroyed cities and religious structures, further erasing the legacy of this once great civilization. Despite these challenges, the Maya did not entirely disappear. While their grand cities fell into ruin, the descendants of the Maya continue to live in the region today. Many Maya people still preserve their languages, traditions, and cultural practices, and they remain a vital part of the societies in Mexico, Guatemala, and Belize. The legacy of the Maya civilization endures through their monumental architecture, their advancements in science and mathematics, and their cultural contributions. While the Maya may have vanished from the pages of history, their influence is still felt today, and their story remains a testament to the achievements of a civilization that once reached the heights of human knowledge and creativity.
Thank you for being with us tonight.
Have a good night.